Hey, welcome back everybody, it's Red Kojak here with another How Much Will It Sell series, and today we're covering the highly anticipated Call of Duty Blackout, or let's call it Blackout, Call of Duty Black Ops 4. Might as well call it Call of Duty Blackout 4. But yeah, because there's a lot to unpack with this series in general, because Blackout is probably the most beloved of the Call of Duty franchise in my opinion, at least based on recent sales data for current generation console. Blackout is definitely the best selling iteration of Call of Duty on current gen consoles, which says a lot about the beloved franchise, even with the fact they're getting rid of campaign mode, which I actually believe that is probably for the better. I love campaign for Call of Duty, and usually it's like a blockbuster movie within a game, but honestly, how often do you replay that campaign once you're done with it? You know, so maybe they'll consider doing that if they have more time in the future, but for the most part, I think it was the right decision to do so, especially with how well received the Blackout Battle Royale has been for Call of Duty. So, you know, definitely something to consider. And while not a lot of people might like that, you know, they have to look at it from the business perspective, and that, you know, Call of Duty, one of the biggest things with Call of Duty overall, one of their biggest weaknesses is that they're what I call a star. They burn really bright in the first 6 months, but then they fade away after that, and that's partly because they do yearly release. So, you know, 6, 7, 8, 9 months, you know, they have the one Call of Duty, and then when they hear the new one coming out for the current year, you know, interest starts to fade on last year Call of Duty. But maybe Blackout might change that this year, maybe not, you know. I think it will, because Blackout Battle Royale might, you know, it might have its own unique flavor that is distinct from the upcoming Call of Duty for next year, 2019, and their Battle Royale. So we'll see.
I'm sorry, what's that?
Miss it.
I can't hear you.
All right.
Over the sound
Come on. Really?
of my deafening awesomeness.
As always, with any of my How Much Will It Sell videos, we always want to start with data first, because this is a data-driven video. So from there, we could scale up, scale down, use percentage variance, trend analysis, things like that to kind of help gauge or predict how much Call of Duty Blackout 4 will actually sell. So we're going to take a look first at lifetime unit sales for Call of Duty. In particular, we're going to be focusing on Black Ops III from 2015. Now, one of the things we have to be very careful of is that when we're looking at data for this, we have to compare current gen sales to current gen sales. We can't factor in PS3 sales or Xbox 360 sales, because those are last gen. So in looking at Black Ops III, Excel file there for you to see too in the background, and kind of look at that while we're discussing. But I'm just going to mostly summarize what this represents. And Black Ops 3, which was released in 2015, is estimated right now, as of, you know, when I checked the most recent sales data, estimated that it sold 22.62 million copies, and that's broken down 15.01 million on PS4, 7.31 on Xbox One, and 0.3, which is like 300,000 on PC, is what it broke down. So for setting the benchmark, I believe Black Ops 4 minimum would at least meet that amount, and the reason why is because you have to factor in that Black Ops 3, it came out without just a story campaign and no Battle Royale mode. Battle Royale mode, at the very minimum, has piqued enough people's interest where I do believe that it will siphon off players from PUBG, more so than Fortnite, and that's because PUBG and Call of Duty has more in common than, you know, Fortnite does. So I do believe that there is going to be a certain amount of players that are siphoned off from PUBG. There might be some players from Fortnite, primarily maybe the Call of Duty players who switched to Fortnite because they would get better views at Fortnite, and they kind of slowed down in Call of Duty, but they're not coming back to Call of Duty. So I do think those, like the Call of Duty purists, will come back from Fortnite, but that's a smaller portion of Fortnite audience than, say, PUBG. Now, with that said, we can see that benchmark minimum, I would say, is it's going to at least minimally reach Black Ops 3 sales. If it doesn't reach minimum Black Ops 3 sales, then that can be considered a failure. But either way, that's going to be the baseline we're going to start from. We're going to go from there and go upwards. And the reason why is because I feel like there are more PlayStation and Xbox units available now than in 2015. So you have to factor in that there's a larger market pool compared to when this happened. So this is 3 years ago, 2015. So that's 3 years of sales for PS4, Xbox. So that will increase the total market amount. I look at it this way. whenever a game is released, it can only grow so much. I mean, a game cannot grow bigger than the market it's in. You know, just like a shark can't grow bigger than the ocean it swims in. So if there's a bigger pool of ocean for the shark to swim around in, that means there's a bigger pool for PS4, Xbox, you know, users to buy Call of Duty on. Look at it that way.
Big whoop. I'm spooning a Barrett 50 cal. I could kill a building.
Now, one of the biggest things a lot of people haven't factored in when they're predicting their Call of Duty sales, they haven't factored in the percentage growth from previous year Call of Duties over the last few years. Now, we know 2015 Call of Duty, Black Ops 3, 2015 was really big, definitely for current gen, you know, definitely one of the highest selling Call of Duty for current gen consoles so far. But then also, when you look at 2016 Infinite Warfare and World War II, which came out last year, you could see that there's a clear trend. So obviously Black Ops 3 was the highest, and then it took a steep dip with Infinite Warfare in 2016, and it went from 22.62 million sold to 13.45. So that's almost like a 50% dip, factoring, you know, everything else. Now, looking at Infinite Warfare, we see that PS4, Xbox, PC breakdown sales. Of that, we know 13.48 total sales, and then we see an increase from that from Infinite Warfare to World War II, and roughly about a 55% increase in sales for PS4, 28% increase in Xbox One, and PC was a negative actual percentage increase. And the reason why is because it sold less on PC for World War II than it did for Infinite Warfare. So we have to factor in that there's a percentage variance or percentage growth from previous year Call of Duty. And if we use that percentage variance alone, which is one of the things we're using, it's called a trend analysis, where we analyze the trend from the previous two Call of Duties and see if we can apply that percentage growth to the upcoming Call of Duty. Now, if we use that percentage variance and apply to what we expect the percentage growth to be for Call of Duty Black Ops 4, we can see that we can estimate that we're probably going to get a 28.25%. And the thing about trend analysis is a little tricky, because since there was a negative growth for PC, that trend analysis does negatively affect PC, indicating that based on trend, we'll probably sell less on PC than we did for last year World War II, which I don't 100% agree with, but we're leaving that in there for balancing purposes. So 28.25 is where we're at for trend analysis for Black Ops 4, the 20 million on PS4, 7.82 mil on Xbox, and 0.11 or 0.11 mil for PC.
Now I feel like an asshole.
When do you not?
Almost always. I really like me.
Baffling.
So now that we've kind of went through the previous Call of Duty sales, you know, sales by units for Black Ops 3, as well as the trend analysis for previous two Call of Duties, we're going to hop into the big meat and potato and look at the three different scenarios that I've mapped out. And I named each of them. My original, normally I do a good, bad baseline for just how much will it sell, but for Call of Duty, there's a lot of X factors in play with Call of Duty, from the quality of the multiplayer, the quality of the Blackout mode, to the percentage variance from the previous Call of Duty iterations, you know, per year, and then also factor in the Blackout title itself. I mean, Black Ops title itself, because Black Ops is the most like loved right now for current gen in terms of sales. Anyway, maybe not in terms of other factors, but in terms of just pure sales, right now it's like the most beloved. Now, with all that said, we're gonna map out the three different scenarios that we want to kind of use to kind of gauge where it will fall. So the first scenario is my good bad baseline, and you'll see based on my good bad baseline scenario that for the most part, if we go, there was a sales analysis done for Call of Duty Black Ops where they believe that it will sell more than Red Dead Redemption and Battlefield 5. Now, we know that it's definitely true for Battlefield 5 so far, because that has been made public, and Battlefield even moved their release date from October to November as a result of how far behind they are, particularly saying they're 85% in terms of sales number. Now, where they are in terms of sales compared to Red Dead Redemption, that is actually a very good comparison, more so than Battlefield 5. And it's my belief that Blackout 4 will outsell Red Dead Redemption for 2018, but will lose in total overall life sale. And the reason for that is because there's many factors for that, but for one, Red Dead Redemption is only on consoles. It's not on PC, which, while Black Ops or Call of Duty in general doesn't sell a lot on PC, I do think that will give it a slight edge. And then the other thing is that you have to factor in that Blackout is the best-selling title for current gen, so it's known for selling a lot more than the others. So, and then you have to factor in that it has its very first Call of Duty Battle Royale mode. So those are three factors that I feel like will give Call of Duty the edge in terms of sales units, in terms of, you know, for this 2018. But we know that Red Dead Online is not being released with Red Dead Redemption, which if it was, maybe that could have been the saving grace for actually making Red Dead sell more, because a lot of people are really looking at Red Dead Royale to see what that's going to be like. But I think that's going to be a much slower pace and older fashioned Battle Royale compared to what's on the market, so it's going to have its own little niche appeal in my opinion. But overall, with that said, I do think that Black Ops will outsell Red Dead Redemption 2, even though a lot of people are claiming that, oh, Red Dead isn't going to sell. But the thing is, they're really pushing a Red Dead being a narrative experience, which is fine. But let's look at Spider-Man, for example. Spider-Man, single player, one of the best-selling games for PS4 consoles right now. But right now, that's what, topped out at 3 million, or give or take, or fastest to sell 3 million. You know, not saying that it's going to sell way more than that, but if you have to factor in total units sell, you know, if 3 million for PS4 exclusive game, and Red Dead isn't a PS4 exclusive, is going to probably sell more. You know, it's going to probably top out at like 15, maybe 20 million, whereas Black Ops 3, the old Black Ops, you know, that released in 2015, sold 22 million. So Black Ops 4 is in a very minimum, in my opinion, sell that amount, 22.6. So you see how even if you're doing based on old Blackout or Black Ops title compared to Red Dead sales expectation, that is still a little bit behind. If it was Grand Theft Auto 6, that'd be a different story completely, you know, because Grand Theft Auto is a completely different beast and completely different animal and has a different appeal, and it's modern, much faster, you know. So I think if it was Grand Theft, it would be a different beast entirely. But for Red Dead Redemption, I feel like that caters more to the older audience, and you know that they might not buy it in droves as the younger audience is buying Blackout or Black Ops 4. Why do I keep saying they named it Blackout and Black Ops? They're so close that you keep confusing the two. So a good, bad, basic analysis. This analysis was released publicly back in July 2018, and it estimated that a good scenario for Blackout 4 or Black Ops or BO4. Let's call it BO4 because it starts Blackout, Black Ops is BO. So BO4, 23 mil, bad 19 mil, baseline 21 mil. Now, I've actually adjusted this sales analysis in factoring how much Blackout BO3 sold. And so we see that a BO3 sold 22.62 million. So I'm going to adjust the baseline to be 22.62 million, and then I'm going to adjust the good and bad based on that percentage variance. So with that, you see that on the right side where the percentage variance for that, the good, bad baseline will be good, be 24 million, bad 20 million, baseline 22 million. So that's my good, bad baseline scenario. Scenario 1 is what I call it, for how much, where the range of where I see Blackout 4 BO4 will sell. So 22 to 24. However, we also have to factor in the trend percentage. So we spoke about the trend percentage earlier, and that we're going to top out about 28.25. So factor in the 28.25, we can see that if it follows current trend, or if current trend stays true, it could actually sell up to 28.25 million. You know, and we just spoke about that previously. So we're seeing the range expand from the good bad baseline of 22 to 24 mil up to 28 mil. So we have to factor in that the range is now 22 mil up to 28 mil. But I'm going to even add my third scenario to that, and that's going to be my scenario 3, the Blackout or Battle Royale effect. And with this one, this is a X factor effect where you have to factor in market factors, but market variables actually is more accurate. Market variables that could potentially spur your growth even higher than a percentage, you know, trend analysis or historical sales data. And I feel like Battle Royale is a big enough effect that it does warrant its own somewhat effect. And how do you measure something? How do you measure a Battle Royale effect? It's really hard to do, but what I'm doing is that I'm pulling data from PUBG for this one. So we know that on Xbox, PUBG recently hit a milestone of 8 million players. And we know that on PC, PUBG averages about 1 million active players, more or less. There's a recent report saying that they finally dipped below 1 million active players as of the Blackout beta for, you know, that was recently tested. So we're going to put an 8 million total players for Xbox and 1 million active players for PC as potential players that Blackouts or BO4 could siphon off. And then I'm going to factor in a 25% ratio for PS4 players. And the reason why I'm putting 25% is because currently there isn't really any game that is filling the void that Blackout will fill when it's released on PlayStation 4, which is why I believe Fortnite is doing so well, because they don't have any very strong competition on PS4. H1Z1 sucks, so we can't really use that as a comparison. So as a result, I'm putting 25% because I believe that with the Battle Royale effect, I didn't put higher than 25% because I feel like it wasn't justified, but Blackout 3 sold 15 million PS4, and they did not have a Battle Royale effect, and this one will have a Battle Royale. I'm putting at 25% of what Blackout 3, why do I keep saying Blackout? Black Ops 3, BO3 sold. So BO3 sold 15 million. We're putting a 25% on that baseline. So we're estimating that it's probably going to sell 18 million because reception for Blackout mode has been really positive. So I'm using a percentage for the PS4 portion, but then for the Xbox and PC portion, we're gonna say about 50% conversion. So I'm estimating for Xbox that 50% of players, no, actually, sorry, 75%. And the reason why I'm saying 75% of the 8 million that PUBG have is then it probably switch to Call of Duty, is because of how well received this game has been in terms of, you know, galvanizing people to say that it's gonna kill PUBG. So I'm factoring that social variance that, you know, the PUBG players on Xbox who have been absolutely frustrated with PUBG, what they've done for an entire year on Xbox, are going to move, 75% is going to move to actually playing Blackout. So of that 8 million, we're going to say 75%. So 6 million is going to move, you know, because that's 8 million people that are playing, you know, they might be playing last Call of Duty, they might not, but we're going to say that about 75% of that is going to be added to the 7.5 million, based on the 7.5 million being pulled from Black Ops III sales in 2015. So the 7.5 plus the 8, we're going to put it at 13.1. And then for PC, we know that Black Ops 3 sold 0.3 mil on PC, and then we know there's 1 million active players currently in PUBG. But for that, I'm only putting at 40% because PUBG is infinitely much better on PC than it is on it isn't really known as a PC game. So we have to factor in that it won't be as a big percentage conversion margin. So we're putting at 40% for that one of the 1 million active players. So 40% will probably switch over to Blackout because that is better received and it's the hot topic right now. So not saying they'll stay with it forever, but I think that they're going to initially buy the game and check it out. So same thing with the Xbox. I'm not saying that the 8 million PUBG players are going to permanently switch to Blackout, but for the purposes of the sales of buying Blackout, we have to factor in there's going to be a conversion margin. So with that said, we're going to convert at 1 million active players for PUBG. Of that, 40% is going to convert to Blackout or Black Ops 4 / and we're putting at 0.7 mil for PC. With that said, we arrive at our grand total of 32.96 for scenario 3, which I call my Blackout / Battle Royale effect. So 32 million is where I'm estimating that the maximum, you know, would factor in all factors, previous sales of Black Ops 3, trend analysis, and then also the Battle Royale effect. We're estimating 32.96 mil.
Did you seriously climb all the way up here just to see what my bonus is?
No, I sarcastically climbed all the way up here to see what your bonus is. He said sarcastically.
Alright, so let's pull it all together with the 3 different scenarios: the good, bad baseline, the trend percentage, and the Battle Royale effect. We can see that the range is somewhere between 22.62 million up to 32.96 million. And that is pretty important to factor in, that how these different effects could factor in making things explode for Blackout 4, because we don't know where it's actually going to settle, but we can only try to measure what we expect that percentage growth to be at. And you know, it's kind of good to see it in a visual format, particularly chart, to see where it could actually fall in terms of everything overall. Now, with that said, you know, I believe that it's going to fall probably somewhere in the middle. I don't think it's going to sell the minimum of 22.62 million based on the Blackout 3 information, but I think it's going to be on the high 28, maybe even close to 30 when you factor in, and oh, let me just clarify. we're factoring physical copies sold, because if we factor in digital copies, which that data is extremely hard to come by, they usually don't give that information, and usually digital data is like a percentage of physical data. So say if you sell 90 units physical copy, then how many of that we expect to make is digital? Usually they say between 25 to 40% of that is digital, because digital is growing at a faster rate than physical copies being bought. So if it's gonna sell 28.25 million copies physically, which is actually at GameStop, then we're estimating like 30% of that is actually digital sales too. But we don't know that number, so that's 30% in addition to whatever they sold physically. So all the data I'm giving right now is for how much we think. I do believe Call of Duty is going to release their sales numbers because they expect it to be really good. And a lot of times when Call of Duty sales do really good, they are very boisterous or very proud of how much they're selling. And it's very likely that Call of Duty Black Ops 4 could have over $1 billion in sales on day one release. That's very likely because of the $59.99 price. And not to mention, a lot of people like to buy the physical copies of game, particularly Call of Duty. I think they find it more proud to have the physical copy versus a digital copy. You can take a picture of the physical copy, but you can't take a picture of a digital copy. So it has more notoriety to have the actual physical copy. Plus, not to mention, some people might go ahead and buy the special editions, which comes with other stuff. So you have to factor that in too. I bought the digital version, the highest tier, which was like $120. I'm a big fan of what they represent with Blackout. Not a fan of the other side of it, but I am a fan of Blackout and definitely wanted to get at the highest tier possible. I probably won't buy the Season Pass because the Season Pass seems like it's more geared towards maps for multiplayer, and Blackout is going to evolve separate from that from what I've seen so far. If they do factor things into Blackout with a Season Pass, I might consider that. So you have to factor in that too. So this right here, how much will it sell? I'm doing based on how much physical copy it's going to sell. And if it's going to sell, 28, and I keep mentioning 28 because I do feel like that's where it's probably going to end up, is like around a 28 mark. And a lot, and that's, you see that the sales analysis that was released in July 2018, that was before Blackout was even available to see, and before it even got the positive reception. So I feel like the positive reception of Blackout factored in with jubilation of having, making Call of Duty great again is what's going around. I feel like that is going to definitely skew it upwards, particularly since the last Black Ops 3 sold 22 mil. So if the last one did that without the Battle Royale mode, this one is probably going to do way better. So I'm pushing it higher towards the 28 mil. So I'm leaning more towards the trend percentage, maybe even a little bit higher, say 30 million, so a little bit of the trend percentage versus combined with a little bit of Battle Royale effect will probably push to 30 million units is what I'm estimating by the end of 2018. And see, now I don't know if they'll hit 30 million on the first day. That's hard to predict, and the reason why is because a lot of people buy digitally so they could download it that night and play it as soon as released versus buying it physically. But I do think that in the first 2 to 3 months it's gonna sell 30 million is where I'm unless something happens to like skewer that differently. I mean, Red Dead could take a bite of that, but I don't think it's gonna take as big as a bite of Blackout as people think, because they are catering to two completely different audiences. Red Dead is more for people who like single player and don't like that thing, but as we see, Fortnite is a multiplayer only game. PUBG is a multiplayer only game, and you see the numbers they post, they're establishing. So if you can see what they're doing just with a multiplayer only game, that market is available for Call of Duty to siphon players from, and that will push it closer to 30 million is where I'm estimating. So with all that said, I hope you guys find this video informative and understand why I'm leaning towards the 30 million units sold by end of, maybe more, with a Battle Royale effect, if that perfect, compounds and multiply and pushes it past the 32 million mark, to 32.96 or higher. But right now I'm settling about 30 mil units sold. But I hope you guys find this video informative. Let me know where you think it's going to fall in terms of sales units. Obviously, I think it's going to break the $1 billion mark on first week release. And Call of Duty has been known to break the 1 billion billion in sales figure mark physical copies, usually within 15 days. So I do think that it's going to break that probably sooner than 15 days. So that's the other prediction I'll put there too, is that not only is it going to sell 30 million by the end of the year, but it's also going to probably break the 1 million in sale. 1 billion, sorry. Did I say 1 million? No, 1 billion in sales in 15 days. So 2 weeks is what I'm estimating. So, you know, it's a bold prediction, but I think they have the right formula with Blackout, Black Ops title, Battle Royale mode, and actually being the positive reception of all three. So that's something to keep in mind. So 1 billion in 15 days and 30 million by end of 2018. Alright guys, thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys find this video informative. As always, this is your friendly neighborhood analyst, Rick Kojak, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.